Hi everyone, my name is Pema Dolma and I am a Tibetan activist born and raised in exile, currently based in New York City, working with Students for a Free Tibet. From the time when I was really young, I grew up largely in communities where not many people knew about Tibet or the situation in Tibet, in particular the suffering and the plight for decades that Tibetans had overcome. Tibetans like my grandparents and my parents. And I remember when I was about 13 or 14 years old, I walked into school one day and in our hallway, I was the only Tibetan student at the entire school. In the hallway, they had pasted up a newspaper article, which was a front page cover of the San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge banner hanging, which said, "One World, One Dream, Free Tibet." And I remember that moment when I walked into my school, which had been a place where I put on this hat where I was an American student, just like all my classmates, and my Tibetan side of my identity really, at that time, didn't exist in the classroom or in my hallways. And I remember that after this protest of the Golden Gate Bridge, I walked into the hallway and everyone, my teachers, my classmates, my principal of my school, and for that day, for that week, they knew about Tibet. It was on their mind. And the thing that I think about every day, every week of my life, about how, my grandparents lost their country, that was something that in that moment, everybody in my school and in the country, in the world, was talking about Tibet. And that was kind of the moment where I realized that MLK Jr.'s quote, "Riot is the language of the unheard," really held a really important significance, especially for Tibetans whose story and plight had been so overshadowed because of the CCP's economic power and geopolitical power in the region and the world. Several years later, when I heard about the language protests inside Tibet, which were organized and carried out by students that were younger than I was at that time as a high school student, that kind of really inspired me, because I knew that inside Tibet, these students, they had seen the just the sheer horror of what the Chinese government could do, how they could silence us, but they were willing to take to the streets and call for change and call for protection of the Tibetan language. And for me as a Tibetan growing up in the United States and going to Sunday school on the weekends and trying my best to preserve Tibetan language and to my best ability, it was so inspiring to see the sheer strength and courage of Tibetan students inside Tibet. And even though the Chinese government had done their best to separate Tibetans in exile from those inside, I could hear their protests. I could hear their message for language rights inside Tibet. And that touched me and motivated me thousands of miles away. And that kind of also reaffirmed my understanding and my dedication to the Tibetan movement, and to, in particularly, using activism and protest as a way to further our movement and bring us closer to a world in which Tibetans and the people of Tibet have the rights that they deserve. So thank you, and I hope that young people continue to take to the streets and share their message with the world around us. Free Tibet.